And we're live. What is going on, everybody? This is your girl, Martha D. Staub, owner of MDMC Entertainment. It's been a weird morning, guys. We just had a power outage, and then it wouldn't go live on time. We are on time, but the internet failed us this morning. So what is going on? This is episode 20, and I'm so excited to have my next guest. He is the owner of the Wrestling Guys Story in Huntington Park. And he agreed to be on the show, which I was super excited because I didn't think he would. But please welcome David Gomez. What is going on, David?
How's it going?
It's going good. How are you?
I'm doing well, just here at home on my supposed day off. But, you know, my kids never give me a day off.
You're a busy man.
I try to stay busy.
Oh, yeah. So I had to talk to Jared about this because I don't remember my first time going to your store.
Mm-hmm.
It was for Melina in 2016, and then ever since then we're like, yo, we gotta keep coming back, and we just kept coming back because your guests have been just amazing.
Oh,
and
thank you.
The belt behind me, I told you who I needed. So you're responsible for quite a few of these things. Melina for sure, and then the incomparable, the super hard to find. I never thought I would find her, Molly Holly.
Yeah.
And then just recently, the last women's champion, Layla, which I never thought I would. And here's the thing: I kind of have mixed feelings about Layla because she tore this belt apart. And, they cut it in half, her and Lay Cool,
Yeah.
And I was like, how dare you ruin this belt? So, I kind of, I know, but that's kind of the feeling I had. I was like, oh, but I was, I was super excited. I never thought I would get Layla. And I think she said on her social media, that was her first appearance in 5 years.
Yeah, it was. So that just happened by coincidence because when she left WWE, I think I reached out to her like maybe a couple months after, and she didn't respond. So I was like, okay, well, we'll just move on. Because usually if they don't respond by one or two messages, I'll just say, hey, I'll move on and find somebody else. And I think Candice Michelle, so this was actually 2017, I think, when I reached out to her. And then in 2020, we worked out something for Candice Michelle to appear at the store. And then so she advertised that she was going to appear there. And then all of a sudden in my inbox, I get a message from Layla. And she responded 3 years later saying, hey, I'm interested. So I said, come on in. So it worked out pretty good. So I always credit Candice for that one.
Yeah, Candice, I met her at Frank & Sons. I think Steve brought her, but she was one of my favorite women's champions because she was always one of those modelly girls, and then she went over and trained, and she did really good. And then man, when she got injured though, that sucked. I was like, oh, man, I got Trish on here too, and I got Mickey. I went to Beaumont, California to find Mickey. She was at a Walmart.
Yeah. She was like at the back of the Walmart, right, or something.
Yeah, it was weird. We went, and it was like, because I'd never been to Beaumont, and it was nice and sunny in our area. And then when we got to Beaumont, it turned like a winter wonderland. It was raining and cloudy. I was like, where are we? And I was like, whatever. So I was able to find them, but. I think I have like 8 people left I need to get signed. So we're
Who's
getting
the
there.
hardest one you have left?
Let me look. I think Beth Phoenix.
Oh, Beth, yeah.
Beth will be super hard. Let's see. Sable, super hard.
That one's gonna be super. That's my oldest son's favorite power bomb is the Sable bomb. Go figure.
Yeah. Jacqueline's gonna be hard. No, actually. No, Jacqueline was signing. I was supposed to go back to New York this year. She was signing at a comic book store out in Queens, and I was going to go there to find her.
I think she does a couple of WrestleCons too, so she might not be too hard.
She might not be too hard. The cat? No idea where the cat is.
That one might be a little tougher.
Stephanie McMahon.
I mean, if you
I
find
do
her at
the
like an airport or something, maybe.
that or do the access because I know how
Yeah.
Triple H do the access. Let's see, Jazz.
Oh, that's easy. We'll have her in January.
Yay! That's
Yeah.
an exclusive. Oh
There
my
you go.
god!
She'll be there January 17th, I think. I know it's a Saturday in January.
Well, then I will be there, and then of course Michelle McCool.
Michelle, oh, that one's gonna be tough.
Hard. Yeah,
Yeah.
so these are pretty tough. I don't know how. Well, I found Ivory. I went to New York Comic Con and she was signing at the Topps Cards booth.
Okay.
And I was like, holy shit, there's Ivory. And I was like, okay. And then so I was debating whether to go to New York Comic Con because I have my team in New York and they were like, well, we're going anyway. So I flew out there specifically for that and she signed it. And I was like, for me, she was part of Glow and to be able one of those women that actually made it and became a champion. I was like, man, that's pretty big.
Yeah.
And so even Layla was looking. She's like, who do you have? I found Gail was at Frankensons. So yeah. You've been able to help me get all these. The one thing, and this is where I had to ask Jared, you had China.
Mm-hmm.
We knew you were out here. We moved out here in 2012 and I missed it. I was actually going to see her at Monster Palooza the week that she died, and I had bought tickets. And I was ready to go because I was like, man, China's the best. I'm going to go finally meet her. And then she died. And then I wanted my refund, and then they wouldn't refund me. Wow. So it was bad like that. You've had some amazing people in your store.
Well, thank you. China was a favorite of mine. She was really sweet, and I was so nervous to meet her because, she was such a big star on TV, and then she was starting to get into movies and stuff. Yeah. So I think she was probably the one that made me the most nervous out of all the wrestlers that have been there.
Yeah, I heard she was super sweet and nice as a person, because you and I have worked with talent on other levels that some are great and some aren't.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a couple.
So I don't know your history. I just know you because we go to the store. We've been going to the store since 2016. And, anytime that we can, if we've already met somebody, we don't go. Yeah. I'm like, I don't have anything else to sign. But the majority of the time we try to support, everyone here in LA. And you've been a big player, contrary to other belief. You are probably one of the bigger people that promotes a lot of wrestling talent in the LA area. How did the Wrestling Guys store start? Why wrestling? I mean, let's get to know each other, David.
Well, so the Wrestling Guys store kind of started by accident because I hated working for other people. I really did. I kid you not, probably from when I was 18 till about 2001, 2002, I had maybe about 20 different jobs. I would quit after 2 weeks or a month. I would just look for any reason to quit.
Right.
So I said, I want to be my own boss. So when my older son was born in 99, I was working at in 2000, I was working at a cell phone kiosk selling AT&T wireless. And I said, I could do this. I could do this easily. So I opened my own cell phone store. But back then, it wasn't as easy to get credit like it is now. Right. It wasn't as easy to get not credit, but a cell phone.
Right.
And so my friend goes, hey, why don't you add some stuff? So I was like, oh, maybe I should. So I was looking at, because I'm a big baseball guy. So I wanted to add baseball merchandise and stuff. But then I said, you know what? There's competition online. And there's so many, Big Five, Dick's Sporting Goods, and I'm like, yeah, that's too much. So I said, you know what? I like wrestling, and I like Stone Cold Steve Austin. Why don't I try to carry some of his shirts, and that way I get a couple for myself at half price or whatever. So I added a few shirts to the store, and then unfortunately the store ended up closing. So I had all these shirts left over. I had Stone Cold, I had some Cena shirts, Randy Orton, Rey Mysterio, and I said. And that same friend that had told me, hey, why don't you add more stuff? I remember she used to sell some of my cell phone accessories at the swap meet. And she took a couple shirts with her. And I remember she sold out. She went on a Friday, and then Monday she came back to pay me. And she's like, hey, that swap meet is really good. She goes, we can sell there all the time. So when we closed the store, I said, hey, let me look into the swap meet. Let me check it out. So I went to Santa Fe Spring swap meet. I bought a little space. I went with like 2 dozen shirts, and I sold out like in 2 hours.
Oh, nice.
Unfortunately, I got stuck there because I had taken my car inside the park, so I
Oh,
couldn't leave. Because when you take your car in, you're stuck there until the swap meet like closes. Which I think at that time on Friday nights you were there from like 4 o'clock till about 11 o'clock. So after 8 o'clock, I was just stuck looking around. So I started walking, and so I just ordered shirts every week for like 2 months, and then I said, you know what, let me add action figures. And then from action figures, I added more stuff. And then the opportunity came to open the store here in Huntington Park. And I said, I talked to my wife about it, and I really thought about it because we had 8 years at the swap meet, and we were doing really well. We were really well known. And she said, go for it, take the chance. And yeah, I took the chance. And never in my wildest dream that I think I would be here, 7 years later now at the store, because when we opened at the swap meet, everybody told me I was crazy for just selling wrestling. And then when I opened the store, everybody told me I was crazy for abandoning my customer base at the swap meet and opening a store. So
right.
It's worked.
Yeah, I bet. I mean, especially to manage a storefront, that's a lot,
Yeah. It was a headache at first, but it's still hard, but I'm finding my groove little by little.
Yeah, you've been doing really well. I was extremely worried during COVID because I was like, great. I was worried about all small businesses across the board because it's like, how do you sustain yourself? And, that's what I was telling Jared. I said, God, I hope David's okay. And then we reached out at some point, and, luckily you've been able to keep it together, which, thank God.
Yeah. Well, Mattel, actually, I was on the phone with them. I think it was a week ago, actually today. And because we were getting a lot of action figures canceled, like we were supposed to get this Bret Hart Goldberg 2-pack, and it got canceled. And then all of a sudden, all these basic series are getting canceled. So I reached out to my account manager, and I'm like, hey, why are all this stuff getting canceled? And he told me, the toys sales for Mattel has increased over 40%. So they weren't ready for that increase. They thought they were going to go down with COVID. And no, they actually went up. And I told them, yeah, we're experiencing a lot of toy sales as well. Action figures are selling like crazy.
Yeah.
So I think I thought COVID was going to actually take us out. I thought, if we don't open by June or July, we were going to be done. But no, I never imagined in my wildest dreams that action figures would be selling this well at this time with this whole pandemic going on.
Well, I mean, you haven't seen our collection. Jared is a very big collector. He's got his own. He's going to start up his own thing here soon. I don't know if you know his nickname. His name is Leche.
I did not know that.
The New York crew started calling him Leche for some reason. I guess because he's always drinking milk, and so he called it Leche's Collector's Corner. So that's his thing. And so I told him, I said, you're so smart, because there's another aspect to MDMC that we're going to announce here soon of other things that we're planning. And I told him, I said, that's your department, because everybody. He was so good at contacting people and sending them to agents, and I'm like, this is your forte. And that on top of that, he's a collector, so everything that we have it stays here, except for when I was unemployed. It all went away, but we were able to slowly bring it back. But I don't know what happened as COVID hit. More boxes start showing up at the house. I'm like, what the hell are you doing? And he's like, these were on sale. And he's finding these he collects all the elites. So and so I don't know what or where he got them from, but I've seen a spike in my house that these people are coming in as well. So I don't know.
That's a good thing. It's a good thing. I don't mind.
I know you don't mind. I know, because every time he's very particular on how he goes and gets his autograph. So he always wants a print. So we have the binder of the prints, and then he gets his figure signed. That's why we always get the VIP. It's like 5 autographs. I'm like, what the hell are you gonna get signed? And I'm just like, I got my one. If it's a girl, I'm like, I got my one.
Yeah.
And then he's like, oh no, I found the figure here, and I found this, and I found this, and I'm like, oh my God. And
he does find everything, because I sometimes he'll be busting out something. I'm like, where did you find this? Like, I'm like, wow.
No. And he doesn't like to be on camera yet, so I can't have, he's at work too, but I think it would make a very interesting. I know there's a lot of it's saturated out there, so I don't know if anyone would even listen to him. But he's very particular about what he gets and what he buys and how and all this stuff. And I'm just like, this is nuts. Just and he keeps a spreadsheet. I'm like, what are you doing? Your SATs? He's like, yeah, I'm updating all my stuff. Like he's got an inventory, and I'm just like, this is insane. Like. Whatever.
You know what? That's his passion. I envy him because I try to collect, and yeah, there's just I don't have the patience or the. I get really annoyed with like I don't know how to say it. Like I think I can get like a lot of Funko Pops, and then they'll just bug me after a while, and I'm like, okay, it's time to get rid of them.
Oh no, we have a shit ton. I'll send you a picture when we're done.
Yeah.
My living room wall has 3 bookshelves. And it's filled with shit, like and it's all pristine. Some of them are signed. Some of the signed stuff went back home to New Mexico because I was like, I'm not buying a storage unit for this. Like this will get ruined here.
Yeah.
And then I tell my mom, do not sell this box. These are signed because there's like some Charlotte Flair pops that are signed, things like that. I don't know. I don't know, but it's just massive. And then my closet is full. I'm like.
As long as the bedroom doesn't get full of figures, I guess you're okay.
No, it's not. Thank God. I told him, I said, let's not do anything in here. At one point, we had a 2-bedroom apartment, and the spare bedroom, I could hear him nailing shit on the walls. Like, what are you doing? I go in, all his figures are on the wall. I'm like, this looks like a store. What the fuck are you doing?
He probably has more figures than I do at the store.
He could open a store. I make fun of him because there's another vendor at Frankenstein's who just sells the wrestling figures. I think his name's Anthony.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you know him or not, but he that's his boy. That's his connection. So he goes over there. He's like, hey, I need a figure. He's like, I don't have it. So then I don't know. Like, so
tell him to get me a few Aiden English figures. I'm just saying.
We have them.
Really?
We're ready for your signing.
Oh, I might have to snatch one from him while he's in line.
Yeah, I'll have to because we anytime there's a signing coming up, he goes out there and he just starts looking for them. So
you guys are the easiest. By the way, probably one of the easiest guests when we have a signing at the store because you guys usually get your VIP, you get your autographs. And you never want your professional photo.
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know how many professional photos are sitting at the photo shop. How many we've done on, like we did one with DX.
X-Pac?
X-Pac. Yeah, I think we did a couple of those. That was my Christmas greeting. I was like, Merry Christmas, guys. He's cool. I like him. He's fun.
Yeah, he's nice. He's so much fun. And I don't know if we're going to be able to do it this year because it was starting to become like a little Christmas tradition. But, every wrestler's different with COVID. And, some want to do appearances. Some aren't ready to do it yet. So I kind of understand that. So I'm like, okay. So
yeah.
Hopefully he'll want to do a small one or maybe a virtual one or something.
Yeah. Is that going to be like your future, do you think? Or are you going to try and keep as many in-person events as possible?
I want to keep as many in store just for the same reason. Like, a lot of people ask me like, hey, why don't you sell more online? But I'm like, when I was a kid, there was no online stores. So, for me, it was the excitement was going into the store and finding your favorite toy, action figure. For me, it was wrestling, He-Man, Transformers. So when I would go, or the Super Friends, which was now they're the Justice League, I guess. But I used to love going to like Toyville and KB Toys and Toys R Us, and I would go in and I would find like a Hulk Hogan LJN figure. That would be like the greatest feeling in the world. So that's why I don't sell online, because I want that experience for kids and for adults to come into our store and find it. So with the meet and greets, it's kind of the same thing. Like, I mean, it's cool to do it virtually, but that experience isn't the same. We're going to try one with Katarina Lee Waters on November 1st, and we'll see how it goes. But I mean, I think fans are so used to meeting them in person that they want to meet them in person. Sorry, my dogs are going crazy over here.
No, you're totally fine. Mine are snoring right here.
I'll trade you.
Oh my gosh. No. Well, I'm babysitting one. My mom took off for vacation, and this is my dog that I had when I was a kid, well, not when I was a teenager. And my mom's like, I don't have a babysitter. So I brought this Aussie Shepherd lab home with me, and she was an outside dog. And so we had to train her to be an inside dog. So, thank God I work from home. I can take that in 2 hours, and she's gotten accustomed to this life now. So I'm very terrified what's going to happen when I take her back home. And I'm like, here's your life. She's just gotten so used to it. We bought her a bed. She's just so spoiled. It's great.
I'll trade life with a dog. I need some. I need to be spoiled.
So how long has the Wrestling Guy store been open?
It's so including the swap meet, it's been 15 years. 15 years. It'll be 16 in February.
Wow.
Yeah, I only remember because my middle son was a year old when we opened, so I kind of remember that way.
Damn, that's crazy. So how was your process for finding talent to be like, hey, I'm a startup show, like a startup store, can you come and be a guest? Like, how did that process work? Because it's hard to convince talent that you're worthy of their time.
Yeah,
some people are.
It's not. People. I think a lot of people have the perception, and that it's so easy. Like you just write them an email, and they say, "Yeah, of course, let me jump on that." Yeah. Even like for podcasts, you've seen. I'm pretty sure yourself, you've seen it where you might ask somebody, and they're kind of like, "Yeah, I'll get back to you," and then you never hear back from them. So that's kind of how the wrestling works. So
yeah.
When we were at the swap meet, I used to get customers that used to go to Frankenson, and they would mention the meet and greets at Frankenson. So I said, hey, you know what? I want to try my own. So I remember I was like, who can I get? I don't have a big budget. It's a swap meet. It's got to be somebody that's not too bad. And so I reached out to, actually, I was at SummerSlam Access, and I ran into Chris Masters. And I had mentioned to him that I had a spot at the swap meet. He gave me his email. I emailed him. He agreed to do it. And I had to convince him, in the email, I had to tell him like, hey, my name is David. I own this store or in the swap meet. What's your guarantee? How many? We want to do 2 hours. And so he said yes. He's one of the coolest and easiest guys to work with. He wasn't too hard to convince.
Yeah.
And then he put me in connection with other people. Like he connected me with Chavo Guerrero. So Chavo Guerrero did our swap meet too. And then we also had John Morrison. The bad thing about John Morrison was it's a swap meet. So he didn't do as well because you have to pay an entrance fee at the swap meet, and then you gotta come in and pay. And people are used to haggling at a swap meet. So
yeah.
But yeah, so I couldn't wait to get out. But go ahead.
That's the one I've been dying to meet because one of my friends, I'm good friends with the hashtag show. I actually do some content for them, and they were at a party with John Morrison, and I was like, "That's my boo!" And I was like, "Yo, how come I didn't get an invite to this?" Like, I don't know whose party it was. Maybe it was his wife's. I'm not sure.
Right.
They were out having a good old time, and I'm like, "Man, I've yet to meet him."
I ain't gonna lie. Me and my friend Richard, we always say he's a beautiful man.
Man, I always, and I told Jared that too. I said, no disrespect, but I want to do the Melina pose, boobs out, everything. Just hold me, And and I'm not that fan. I don't do weird things. Just like when Alberto Del Rio came, the guys was like, play with him, and I was like, I'm good. He doesn't look like he's into it. I'm not even gonna try. So I'm like, no, just take the picture because you never know with talent. They can be really weird, and they may not.
Morrison is really. He's really cool. When I had him at the swap meet, I think we had him at the store a few years later and actually one of your past guests, Tony Vella, actually set that one up. It was John Morrison and Melina. And then Morrison ended up being at Lucha Underground, and I ran into him at Lucha Underground because I used to sell the merchandise for them. And we became friends from there. So we helped design his shirts, and then he would do a few appearances for me at the store. And yeah, he's such a nice guy. It's funny story is one time he was we were at the tapings, and he was looking for me for something. I think to hand him some shirts or something. And so he messages me like, "Hey, David, where are you at?" And I said, "Oh, I'm right outside the temple." He's like, "Oh, well, can you come in real quick? I'm by the ring." So I guess he had just finished wrestling, and he was just in his gear and topless. And I saw him, and it was like the most awkward conversation. I couldn't look at him. I'm just like, next time I come talk to you, got to put on a shirt because I'm starting to question myself here.
I think he can do that for anybody. I mean, he's just such a good-looking man. I felt that type of way. Same with Chris Masters. Like I was like, oh, like Chris Masters back in the day was. I mean, even now he's still stunning, and I'm just like, good Lord. And then when I freaked out because we were late that day with traffic and stuff, and he walked out of the building. I'm like, "Yo, you leaving?" And he's like, "No, I'm not." I was like, "Oh, thank God."
Yeah,
we're gonna pay. Just and he's like, "You're good." And I was like, "Cool." So he was a good one. Cool. I've been waiting for him for a while too. Like, man, David just got the he's got the good guest, man. So we have notifications on and everything. We'll share when we see it.
Thank you.
Yeah, anything to help you out because we appreciate it. Small businesses are just they're so crucial. And I don't understand why people don't understand. You do pay a little bit of a markup if you're buying merch or whatever it is that a small business sells. It's like, it's about supporting the little guy. Cause same with me, I landed in an unfortunate situation that led me to this life. And I remember we went to a signing in December of last year. Who was that? I'm not sure. But I handed you my cards. I was like, "Hey, you know anybody?" And you were like, "Oh yeah, I'll pass them out." So I was like, "Oh, thank you."
I ran out actually.
Oh, you did?
Yes, I did. I need some more.
Okay, I'll have to, when I see you in English, I'll use it. Thank you.
Because I think you gave me some cards, and I think you gave me a couple flyers or
postcards.
Yeah, and I gave them out.
So luckily, it just seemed to be like you were so receptive. You could have easily just chucked them and be like, whatever. No. And so thank you for that. That was a really good week, and it led off to me acquiring a couple of other good clients. So they've been able to feed me and put the roof over my head. So I've been very grateful. It's just when you're on your own, it's you're on your own. You have to make sure you're able to bring in the money. It's I don't know. It's very humbling, I guess, but
it's scary. I tell everybody, and you don't have a guaranteed paycheck, so you're hoping everything works out. And you never stop working. As much as myself, I'll come home and from the store, and then I'll just be answering Instagram messages, Facebook messages, Twitter messages, promoting this, and sometimes I'm just like, oh, I'm exhausted. I'm not physically exhausted, but I'm mentally just exhausted. Just if you don't work all day, we don't make any money.
That's so true. I mean, that's just my life now. I get up early and then I'm at it. Just like today, I have like 3 meetings today, and then at night I'm up working. And last night I couldn't stay up. I was like 12 o'clock hit, I was out.
See, I'm the opposite. I can't sleep for some reason.
I had the opposite effect when I was in when the quarantine started. I was like up till 4 working, and then one of my New York boys, I was doing I did a video, like a San Diego tour, kind of like a history of how we got here and like some of our favorite spots and stuff. And I have not released it because one of the New York boys is like, "Man, you got bags under your eyes. You look awful." And I'm like, "Fuck you." And so I didn't release it. And I mentioned that his friend, one of our friends, has a podcast too. And I said that. Lewis said I was ugly, so we didn't release it.
You should release it so people can see how hard you work.
I mean, it was, and that was the call of the moment where I was like, all right, I need to get a better sleep schedule. So that's why I reverted back to a normal schedule so I would look decent.
You look fine.
Camera a lot. I didn't realize how much I was doing it. And I was like, maybe he's got a point. He's like, I'm just looking out for you. I was like, yeah, I know, but you're now.
Like I said, I would have released it let people see how hard you work, and then they'll be like, "Wow, she works really hard. You might get more clients."
That is true. I don't know if I could take on anymore. It's been crazy. That's a good problem though. It's
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So
always a good problem to have.
yeah, and then of course, Tony has been a good asset to you as well. I know in my interview, he was like, "You should have just called and jumped ahead of the line." I'm like, "I don't do that. I can't do that."
Yeah.
How long? I think you guys have met. What, 5 years ago?
I think it's about 5-6 years ago. He brought RVD in, and I honestly thought he was like, because I used to get messages. I kid you not, like every day, just saying, "Hey, I'm a agent. I represent so and so, so and so, and so and so. Would you like to book them?" And I'm like, "Yeah, right." And Tony actually called me, and I think he messaged me first, and he called me, and then he's like, "I could get you RVD," and I don't know what was about about Tony that just convinced me that he was legit. And I said, "Okay, let's try." Oh, you know what it was? Is he actually sent me like a graphic, and I was like, you know what? If he wasn't legit, he wouldn't be advertising RVD. And then I think RVD, like as soon as he confirmed it with him, he like promoted it like within minutes. And I said, okay, this guy's legit.
Yeah, it's hard. The agent world sucks because it's so. I guess you guys were laughing about it in your episode, where it's like high school because so many people, especially in LA, with promoters, saying things and stuff. I'm like, oh, wow. And even Tony was the one who told me that, someone was touting they're the best in LA. And I'm like, sit down.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people in that. There's predominantly a couple people in your circle that are doing fantastic. And you're one of them. So it's like,
thank you.
Share the pie. I just never understood why people were like that. It's like, you guys are all in the same game. You guys are running the same circles. Share the glory, but it's too much to.
I tell them there's enough money in this world for everybody to have some, but
absolutely,
people just want to be greedy and keep all of it for themselves. And I don't understand it myself.
Yeah,
high school.
It's just, and then and I think even in booking, I started out in like. Not even booking, but I started out in the Power Ranger. Well, actually, Star Trek, but the Power Ranger stuff was the dramatic stuff. So when you work with one Ranger, then it's like it's drama. And I remember when I jumped onto the scene because I was a marketer and I was seeing a bunch of other people working for other people, and I'm like, these guys don't know what they're doing. And I had one guy say, "I need your help." And then once they saw it, another person's like, "Hey, I need your help." And then it just built and built. And after like those first two, like I was getting messages like, "Who the hell do you think you are?" And I'm like, "Excuse me?" Like there are 26 seasons of Power Rangers. Pick a lane. And
it's like so true.
And I'm just like, come on now. Just like wrestlers, there's a shit ton out there, And so it was a little cutthroat. I was like, man, if I can't make it here, I can't make it anywhere. And I made it and I'm fine. So
yeah, you're doing good. I mean, I remember how stressed out you were when you brought those cars and you were kind of not stressed out, but nervous to start this venture. And look at you now. You're doing, you got a podcast, you got clients. I think it was almost a year ago. So
it was a year ago. Yeah. I was working for a crazy girl downtown San Diego. She was touting herself as a business, consultant, and she was promising people 8, 9, 10 figure businesses. I'm like, how the fuck are you doing that? And I've been in the game quite a bit, and I'm just like, all right, how are you doing this? But the thing is, we never saw how it was being done. We were just promoting it, and then we turned into salespeople. We were trying to convince people to get on calls so that they could talk to them about growing their business. And it was just coaching, and I was just like, this does not make sense. And I did it for 3 months. She paid me. She was the one person that paid me the most out of my entire career. And it was just like I sold my soul. It was the worst feeling ever. And I was like, I'm done. And when she let me go, I was like, thank God. I was so happy. I was like, thank God. I this is it. And then that feeling of crap, then I'm back in the unemployment game. Shit, what am I going to do? And I said, the hell with it. You know what? I'm going to do it. And so I promoted for about a week. And then one of my friends in Dallas is like, yo, I have a business and here's some money, start. And I was like, okay, let's do it. And so that was the start of it. And then, so I was working with them for about a month. And then I sent out my cards with you.
Mm-hmm.
And then that week I got 2 other inquiries, and my largest client out of San Diego. And my friend was like, he's the one that I work with this company. And he said, he says, we're going to be consultants. I've already been working there, but they need the additional help that you have the expertise in, and you can jump in and just start. And I said, okay. Yeah. And it ended up being the one that pays the bills, pays the roof over my head. I'm like, oh, thank God. And so now I'm like, okay, I can do this. If I do this really well, I can secure this for another year. So now we're planning for the next year. So I'm like, thank God. Like, you know, and this is the worst time to start a business, you know, like, everyone is, and it's so sad to see so many people that are just losing their jobs, can't pay their rent, that have lost their business. And I'm sitting over here thriving, and I'm like, thank you, Lord, man. I just had a rough past 2 years. Like, it was touch and go there for a minute.
It's funny how things work out though, right?
It's nuts, man. I would have never thought that, you know, and I had that same conversation with my mom. Like, my mom really doesn't understand it. And I went home, and I was there in New Mexico for a little bit. And so I'm working, and she's calling me, and I'm like, what do you want? And so like every 10 minutes, I'm like, so I finally, my paycheck actually came through PayPal. And I said, here's my client's payment. And she's like, what is this? Like, you know, thousands of dollars. And I'm like, that's what I mean. I'm working. I don't know what else I have to tell you to understand that this is my life and this is what I do. And she's like, oh my God, okay, I get it now. You know, and I don't like to talk about money with her, but I'm like, here you go. This is how you should know this is legit.
Yeah.
And so she's like, holy crap. I was like, okay. So you know, it's an interesting thing. You know, I know that my parents always wanted me to just work at a great company, retire, have a great, you know, salary. And that was their dream for me. That's what they always pushed me to do, which is why I've held off having kids, because I was like, I got to get to this point, you know? Yeah. And it's not what they expected. Mm-hmm. So it's like, God, I hope you guys are proud. I don't know, because it's a different world. You know, people don't have a work-life balance anymore. When you work for somebody, you know, your life is determined by them, and it's not determined by you. And I just got tired of making people money and them not appreciating it. And
that's what my wife is going through, because she's a manager at Yoshinoya, and her life is all around whatever her boss wants. So it's a pain, but
it is. It's ridiculous. Yeah. So you started up your own show. It's on YouTube, and it's also on Spotify, Apple, everywhere, anywhere you can listen to a podcast. You're pretty much doing what I'm doing. You do it on YouTube, and then I think you upload it into Anchor.
Yes, I stole your idea for the relaunch, so I have to give you credit.
Well, thank you. So what possessed you to talk about nobody listens to David? Like, what is that joke? Is it just something you've noticed in life that people just don't listen to you? Like, what's the story behind that?
So I wanted to do a podcast where, I mean, I was doing the Wrestling Guy podcast where we would talk about wrestling. And I said, you know what? My life revolves around wrestling. I go, I need a break.
Yeah.
So it was me, my friend Alfred, and another friend named Hector. And originally we were going to come up with a show called, something about, my three puppies instead of my three dads or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And we were going to talk about like just what we experience as three dads. And we said, you know, the idea came from there, but it never came to fruition. So I said, man, I need a podcast where I can, you know, talk and just express my views or whatever. And so I used to coach baseball. So one of my baseball players was at the store, and I was complaining to him how another player, I was trying to get him to record our meet and greets, and because he was that kid was starting to do videography, and I said, hey, you want to do this? And he was like, oh, I don't know. So I was complaining to my player, like, man, I offer this kid this job, this opportunity, and he doesn't want it. And he goes, man, David, he goes, nobody listens to David. And I was like, oh my God, that's so perfect. That's the name of the podcast. So we started doing little vignettes, and so I told my best friend at the time, Alfred. I told him, man, I want to do these little vignettes where I give people like the worst advice ever, and it fails. So the first one, if you go back on YouTube, there's a video like a minute where I'm teaching my son supposedly how to shoot a basket. And he's gonna shoot, and I stop him and I say, no, you're doing it wrong. And I tell him, no, you got to shoot from the hip. And he's like, okay. And then he shoots and he misses. And then he says something like, oh, no wonder nobody listens to you. But the funny part is that everybody, when we recorded it, my son kept making the basket, even though we were telling him, no, you have to miss. So it took him about 20 times. So when he actually says the line at the end, he was really actually frustrated. Everybody thought he was acting. And I go, no, he was actually already frustrated with filming this. And then, so it kept going from there. And then we did one with Alfred. I don't know if you saw this one, where I give him advice how to talk to this cute girl that comes in the store supposedly. And she slaps him right across the face. And he says like, oh, that's why nobody listens to you. The funny part is the first time we recorded it, the slap didn't record. So we had to keep going. And then we did like 20 slaps. So after those vignettes, we were kind of teasing. And then finally we did the podcast. And yeah, we just decided just to run with it. And it was just a way, honestly, to kind of just release stress and just have fun and just talk about our life experiences. And like we talked about before we came on the air was, Memory, my ex-girlfriend Memory. That was just the running joke on the show. We had to bring her up. So I had to think of like every little story possible that, that I had on her to try to space it out so it could come up every like first 10 episodes.
First of all, she had you jumped. That's messed up.
She really did.
Like, oh my God. So like I said, I was in the car and I was on Spotify because that's what I listened to. And I was listening to it. I was just like, what the hell? And like, by the time I got home, I was like, damn it, I need and then of course, Jared's home and everything. So I had to spend time with him,
Yeah.
And like, I'll listen to this after you go to bed or whatever. And then I started this morning after the power came back on. I was like, all right, I wanted to try and listen to all of it before we talked. I was like, I can't do it. So, but I'll get there because I thought it was really funny. I thought it was really good. And, it's a great way to show your personality, if, I've seen and what I've heard, actually, the only reason I jumped onto the podcast world was because one of my friends, he has the podcast called Facts of Life. And he was saying, he's like, I use Anchor, he does the sponsored message at the beginning. I was like, I wonder what that would do. And he says, well, technically, because YouTube, there's so much competition in YouTube, like, it's crazy. And he says the way it should work is if you have a podcast, you put it out there and you tell people you're on YouTube, then they might find you back on YouTube. So it works either way. And so I was like, all right, the hell with it. So I started just ripping the audio and just throwing it up there. And so which it's been good. It's been interesting to see people are listening, I'm like, okay, people are listening. That's great. So, that's why I try to mix it up with giving some knowledge and then also talking to, successful people like yourself that have done it, because, this life is hard and being for yourself is hard too. And, maybe there's it, but I love the common ground that I've heard is everyone's just tired of working for dumbasses. They're over it.
I was tired. That's why, I have people that help me out at the store. I've been blessed to have good people that help me out. I take 2 days off because I was working 7 days a week at the store. And that's why the podcast started too, because I was just burnt out. And so fortunately I had my oldest son, Justice. He was helping me out for a while. And then he ended up going to cosmetology school, and now he works at Ulta Beauty in Southgate. And he credits me with helping him with like learning customer service.
It's super important.
Yeah, and I always tell. And then there's another young lady that used to be there, and she got a job I think the first job she interviewed for or something, she ended up getting, and she credited me for the customer service. So I was like, and the reason that customer service is so important, one, because like you said, you have dumbasses that they're just rude, just mean bosses and mean to customers. And I'm like, that's not what I want to be. I want to be nice. And I mean, I want stuff done, but I don't think you have to be an asshole about it.
Yeah,
you know,
building the team is hard. It's hard to find people that share your vision, that want to work and to help you succeed, and they succeed as well. It's a pain in the ass. I've actually been going through that myself, but it's a mess. So I'm congratulations. I'm envious of you. You found people who want to work.
Thank you. I have a new guy that's helping me, Ernie, and it's so funny because when he first started, he was real quiet and shy, and he didn't know. He just didn't really talk as much. I mean, he talked, and now it's so different because he's been there almost a year. He mentioned it to me like 2 weeks ago. He goes, "Oh my God, I've been here almost a year," and he takes so much pride in what he does now. Like when I'm not there, it's like he runs the store like if it was his, and I'll come back and he'll have everything done for me, and I'm like, wow, now what do I do?
Oh, that's awesome.
But it's like you said, when you have people that, when you're not an asshole, people want to help you.
Yeah, for sure. And and then I was actually telling Jared that I was like, wow, is that a reflection on my attitude? Am I a shitty leader that I couldn't, because I sat here and motivated people to move, and I gave tools for them to move, and, gave a couple of incentives to motivate. And I figured it was just a lost cause. Maybe this isn't my fault because if you can't move on your own, then maybe you're not movable. Maybe that's just not what you want to do. So, and so that's kind of what I've been going through as well.
You know what it is? It's just like you said. Some people are happy with being who they are. I read an interesting message on Instagram, a meme, I guess, and my friend put something of like people complain when they're working for minimum wage, but then yet they get upset when they're not making thousands of dollars working for themselves, and then they go back to that minimum wage job. Yeah. And I think that's what it is. People are just comfortable. I think some people are just, like you said, they're unmovable. They just want to be where they are. They don't want to work hard. They don't realize how much hard work is in. And then I think when they finally do realize it, it's either sink or swim, and a lot of them say, "Oh, forget. I'd rather sink and go back, to where I was."
Because and you've seen. I mean, I used to travel with talent. I used to go to Comic-Cons all over the place. I was on a plane every month,
Yeah.
And so it's easy to look at it outside of the box and be like, "Oh, I want to do what you do." And that's actually where I met Tony. I met Tony in Alaska, of all places.
Wow.
We were up there doing the show for Alaska, Arctic Comic-Con.
Yeah.
And that's how we met. And I think he was talking to all the agents, and I was like, dude, I'm not an agent. I'm here for the agent, because I worked out a deal with the agent that booked talent. She's like, because there's times where she's at a show one weekend and she sends me to the show over there. So I'm like, they send me the plane ticket, they send me my hotel, and I'm off, and so it's a good deal.
Yeah.
Not everyone can score that, and I can't give that away to anybody else, because you're like, you have to work when you get there.
Yeah.
And people don't realize. And so it's easy to look at it and be like, oh, that's, it's overnight success when it's not.
Mm-hmm.
It's a pain in the ass.
Oh, big time. I tell people, I mean, I have like competition now, and there's one store that opened up and that's competing against me, and they're not like fully wrestling, but it's close enough. And they've asked me like, oh, are you upset? And I go, you know what? I'm not upset, because like I said, I don't wish bad on anybody. That's his money that he's taking away from his family to open this business. But I go, but he's going to see it's not all roses. It's not just like you said, it's not what you see from the outside. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of losses. Like we mentioned earlier with talent, you could bring in a talent for, $5,000 for an appearance, and you better hope that those people show up and help you make that money. Yeah. If they don't, that's $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 you're gonna lose.
Well, yeah, and I started dabbling in that too, where I had a talent, and I'm like, oh God, please make the money, and they made the money, and so it's like, okay, we kind of made it, okay, but it's still something that I like, I think God, like we're going to end up eventually when COVID is over, if it is ever over, because it's, when COVID is over, it's starting to sound like when we win the lottery. Starting to sound reminiscent to that. When we go back and do shows, we want to be able to be a vendor at places, and we want to bring in talent too, just to bring in some awareness to the brand. So it's scary.
Yeah, it is. And that with COVID, it's gonna, even if COVID ends, like you said, it's going to be scary because you just don't know how people are going to respond. Are they going to show up now to cons or, I mean, even with us, with the appearances, it's so much work to make sure everybody stays safe. And, they asked me like, hey, how did so-and-so do? And I go, she did okay, or he did okay, but I know they would do better if COVID, wasn't around because people would feel safer, but I don't know how, things are going to turn out next year. So it is a very scary situation, especially for us in small business, because we don't know what's going to happen, next year. We don't know what's going to happen after this whole election, everything that goes on. So that's what people don't realize. We're watching the news to see what's going on, to see how business is going to be affected,
And I've caught myself watching mainstream news a lot more now just because of that. We're like, I'm about to go into a budget meeting here in a little bit, and we're trying to figure out, all right, which surprisingly, we were able to make this company a lot of money during the pandemic. So I was like, okay, thank God there's interest. People are still doing stuff. I think at this point now, though, people are over it. Yeah. Because when I went to the last signing, I was like, man, it feels like we're back to normal. I was like, oh, crap, everyone's out, everyone's happy. Like, you're providing a service that, even though we do have to be a little bit more safer doing it, it just felt like we were normal again.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that feels great. So we've been doing really well doing it. So we appreciate you. I know Jared does as well. Thank you.
No, I appreciate you guys all the time. So every time I see you guys at the signing, I feel, I don't know, I feel a little more at home, I guess. I feel, I feel like you guys, when I see you guys, I calm down. My nerves kind of calm down.
Oh, that's so sweet. We're nobody. We're
no. You guys are familiar faces, and when I see familiar faces, supportive faces, I'm like, okay, this means it was a success. There we go.
Yeah, we try to support people we like.
Yeah. Thank you.
No, I got played dirty. I'll tell you this story off air, but we got played a little dirty with something, and I was like, I'm done.
Yeah.
And it was something that Jared purchased that was not good, and so I was like, I'm done. We'll discuss that when we're done here. But yeah. Do you have I don't even know if you're even comfortable for saying this, but do you have a dream guest you would love to have if money was no object and you could just do it? Who would be your dream guest?
Well, I have two. I have Daniel Bryan, because he's my favorite. I'm a huge Daniel Bryan mark. I always tell everybody it's going to happen someday, but I don't know when, but it's going to happen. I may not open the doors just because I'm a huge mark. I want to spend the 2 hours myself. But the other one would be Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yes. Hey, how about Goldberg? I hear he lives in my hood. I've heard people say they ran into him at the Walmart down the street, and that he lives down in Chula Vista. Everyone spots Goldberg in the San Diego area. Is he just is he hard to find, or is he like Waldo? I don't know. What's the deal?
I think he is, because I don't know how to get a hold of him. I went on his Twitter. I've gone on his Instagram. I've tried to see if he has an email for business inquiry. He had a website, but I guess the website's not working. So I'm gonna have to hit up some connects I have. You sound like me with Stone Cold Steve Austin. I'll be in downtown or in LA or Santa Monica, and everybody will be like, oh, Stone Cold. I see Stone Cold all the time, but when I go, I never run into him.
Jared found his address in Oceanside. I don't know.
Really?
I think it's for his academy.
Oh, okay.
You may have to slide into his DMs and ask him, because like I said, he has people's addresses. I'm like, this is creepy. If the cops ever come, you're gonna be blamed for something. That's just nuts. But yeah, he was like, I was gonna send my pop over there to them, because I guess because he's in all these groups and stuff, and people have been sending Goldberg pops to the Oceanside address, and he signs them and sends them back.
Wow, I'm gonna have to send him. Yeah, I'm gonna have to do that, because I've been trying to get him in the store. I think he'll do really well. I think he'll bring in the wrestling crowd, the car, motor car crowd, and I think the movie crowd as well. So
yeah, he's great, and he's on the show Goldbergs, which I thought was funny. He's on there, and so and I saw Stone Cold was in Long Beach with Charlotte.
Yeah, with Charlotte.
Like, does he live out here? I was like, that's weird. I don't know.
I think he lives in Marina Del Rey, or he has a home in Marina Del Rey, and I think he has his home at the Broken Skull Ranch in Texas, I think.
Yeah. So it's just weird. Like people have told me, people I know, they're like, I saw Goldberg the other day at the Walmart. I was like, what the fuck? Where, really?
That's like when they tell me I went to El Segundo Brewery and they see Stone Cold. I'm like, man, why don't you guys invite me? I go, I don't drink. I could be the designated driver. Just let me meet Stone Cold.
Hell yeah. Drink some beers with Stone Cold, something. That's
right.
I mean, because Jared and I are playing around with the concept, and I was like, if I were to do this, like my ultimate, like if I could find these people, it would be like Edge and Beth, because Edge doesn't like to do cons. Yeah. He doesn't. I know from an agent that he doesn't like to do the con thing. Yeah. And I was like, yo, if we get him for a private signing, and he can bring Beth, I mean, you could do it. And so here we are trying to figure it out, but
I'm trying with you. Trust me. I'm trying to get Beth. I'm like, if I can get Beth, maybe I can impress her, and then I can get Edge.
Beth is an icon. I love her. She's great.
I'm gonna try. I think once COVID, if it ever gets better, and I'm gonna reach out to her.
I mean, I have a feeling. I think when's the next debate? Is it this week or next?
The debate's tonight, I think.
Is it tonight? Okay. Mm-hmm. I have a feeling before the 3rd, there'll be a candidate that says, I have the vaccine, vote for me. I have a really strong feeling that's going to happen.
Yeah, I do too. I've been saying, don't be surprised if it happens this week or next.
But are you going to take it though? That's the thing.
Hell no.
It's it's too scary.
I don't even buy a new phone I don't buy the iPhone when it first comes out, because that's how they find out what the glitches are. Mm-hmm. So I'll wait till next year to do a vaccine. That's
how we are with the PlayStations and the Xboxes. We wait about a year or two and then we buy them.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, no way I'm going to do that with the vaccine.
Yeah.
Where they have people testing. Nope.
Like, I was laughing because I think Rush was like, we have one and it works. I was like,
Nope. I barely get the flu shot. No, thank you.
God, yeah. All right, David, where can people find you on social media?
So on Instagram and Facebook, we're under the Wrestling Guy Store. On Twitter, we're Wrestling Guy HP. On YouTube, just search up the Wrestling Guy Store, and our website is thewrestlingguystore.com.
Yeah. Do you want anyone to go listen to Nobody Listens to David?
Yeah, come check out Nobody Listens to David. You can see why nobody listens to me. I still can't figure out why. If you don't want to hear the whole podcast, just look at the little vignettes. I guarantee you they'll crack you up. So. Yeah,
no, that's just great. I had a blast listening to it.
Thank you. I got to do some more.
Yeah. I'm excited to see what else you're going to come up with. So
yeah, it's hard, but I'll come up with some good ideas.
Well, thank you so much for being my guest today, David. It's an honor. I never thought you would say yes.
No, thank you. I didn't think you would invite me. So it's an honor for
me. Every time I go, I was like, David's done really well. You're always got new stuff in the store, and I'm just like, it's a small business. He's doing good. And I look at it from a business standpoint. I'm like, he's doing really good. I should probably talk to him. And I was like, I don't even know if he'll say yes. And Jared's like, just ask. I'm sure he'll say something. He'll be cool with it. Or, you never know. You just ask him. And I was like, okay. So, and then you ironically hit me up at I was cat sitting downtown. I was trying to catch an Uber. So I'm like, having this conversation with you. And I'm just like, okay, I'll ask him now since he hit me up.
Yeah, I wanted to do it. When I saw Tony, I even told Tony, I go, why haven't I been on this show yet?
Eventually, I'd like to have, other people on. I don't know yet. We'll have to wait and see because, this is season 1. It's going to end here probably in December. I'm not sure yet. And then we'll pick it back up in January. So I have to figure out who else I want to invite,
Yeah, let me know. I'm always available if you want to bring me back.
Oh yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, David. I appreciate it. Everyone go follow him, like his content. And we'll see you next week for next week's episode.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Thanks. Bye. All right.